I'm going to do this for the first time. Good evening, Chopper John. Finger mash. Don't cry, Chopper John. I make it my point of duty this evening, while listening to JAMAICA'S, to go over to Chopper John's page. The poor guy needs help. The definition of shame is plastered all over Chopper John. Speechless. He is speechless, defending the indefensible, speechless. They have now turned their attention to attacking the gleaner, because apparently the gleaner has now turned out to be a PNP propagandist medium per Chopper John and his delinquent dunces across the pond. Jamaica, it is one of the most disgraceful times of our history. A prime minister has been marred by corruption. A prime minister constantly referred to for prosecution or for further investigation. It is the most disgraceful time in our history, Jamaica. Corruption in the highest office in our land is at an all-time high. It is rife under the Holness-led regime. But they are shameless with it. When you say shameless, they are shameless with it. Not an ounce of butter a quitter in them eye. Shameless with it. Very shameless. The Prime Minister, but as we have seen from the reports being sent to Parliament, there's a concerted effort by the Prime Minister and his hullabaloos to discredit the Integrity Commission. After the Cecil explanation of the Prime Minister this evening, after the sleazy explanation of the Prime Minister this evening, the Prime Minister went off on a tirade of attacking the Integrity Commission. We are going to listen again to the Prime Minister and dissect him bit by bit and remind him, Prime Minister, that though they may be your private affairs, Prime Minister, we are entitled to know of them, especially, Prime Minister, in cases where your dealings are not transparent. Three stone a stone, Prime Minister. Finger mash, don't cry. It's what Chopper John is over there doing. Shame like dog. Chopper John is speechless. Chopper John sit down over there from even when Andrew Holness done talk. Him replay for Cliff Hughes reporting the whole of Cliff Hughes nationwide at whatever time of evening it was. And Chopper John still over there still play advertisement for nationwide. Whoa, Chopper John mouth could have shut. Have you heard? Chopper John mouth is shut. I wonder what about Peter King's ex? Peter King's ex. Lartland, I cannot give an objective legal opinion on the issue as yet, as I have not read the report. My brain's too tired to do that. I have not gone through the report. What I will give, though, is an objective political opinion or advice to the Prime Minister. On the issue or on the matter of integrity and good governance, the Prime Minister has lost the credibility of the nation. He has lost the credibility even in his own party. If you take note of the recent report from Nationwide and Blue Dot, he has lost the credibility, more credibility amongst even his Jamaica Labour Party supporters. A prime minister who has been constantly mobbed by corruption investigation. A prime minister whose asset or statutory declaration cannot be verified without an FID audit. That alone, politically, does not put the prime minister in any standing whatsoever to continue to lead the country as a leader with integrity, a leader of accountability and transparency. The prime minister has fallen way too short on issues of those. The prime minister have also been referred to for corruption. Based on the investigation done when he was at Ministry of Education to where he is now, there seemed to be a pattern of the prime minister dwelling and dabbling in corruption. The financial dealings of the prime minister is not clear, cannot be verified, cannot be certified. The prime minister politically does not have credibility to continue as leader of our country. That's my political opinion on the matter. Okay, Elaine. I mean, if I could get some of them thief in labor rights to buy some for me, because me broke. Remember, I hit me Ratigan can't sue me broke. So if I couldn't get the labor right, them to come, the thief in labor right, them, Elaine, to come buy some from me, you know the gain that would be, my dear. Hmm? You stay there, you wanna fret. I don't want over the shame, my dear. Hmm? We did know what was coming. On one day, I walk and I hide under the bushel and I tell if you come under the bushel with you because there's not much that you're going to see out there. But we know so we there go see and hear something. And Elaine Palmer, there is much more to come. There's going to be an awful lot more to come. Uno go shame, uno go silence, and all sorts you can think of. But what I can promise you, Elaine, the dead credibility of the Prime Minister cannot be repaired. Cannot be repaired. Well, Lachlan, they have been back and forth, and we've heard the Prime Minister said this many times when he's asked before today of his report that there's a back and forth communication between him and the IC. It is obvious, Lachlan, that the Prime Minister's explanation is not satisfactory. Hence, he's been referred to the FID for an audit. So the Prime Minister explanation, however much he gives, however skewed up he gives it, does not explain what he has submitted or what they have found out. But let us listen to the fool bit by bit, then we stop him and tell him certain things.
You now have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your permission,
and I like seeing
members
face.
for your indulgence. Mr. Speaker, on Thursday, September 5th, 2024, the Integrity Commission submitted an investigation report, ruling, and special report to Parliament concerning an investigation into my statutory declarations for the year 2021. The reports have now been tabled, and I have since had a chance to read the concluding paragraphs of the ruling of the Director of Corruption Prosecution, the 5-page summary, and peruse the recommendations and conclusions, while acknowledging that the report...
Johnny, FID is the Financial Investigative Division.
Together totals just under 200 pages. The parts that I have read appear to give a sufficient sense of
everybody,
the
findings.
First, I welcome the fact that the report is finally tabled 2 years since this process began. I also take note of the fact that the Commission tabled both the report and the ruling of the Director of Corruption Prosecution at the same time. The last time this was not done.
What he's referring to here, you remember 2022 when them submit the report today and refer him to for prosecution, then tomorrow they submit the ruling that says we can't prosecute because X, Y, Z and Nancy Fancy and all of that. But just let's continue to listen because there's some issue that I want to address with the Prime Minister.
Based on what is said in the summary, queries were triggered because it is alleged that I had omitted bank accounts from my declarations. And one of these accounts was incorrectly reported as a US dollar balance by a financial institution. These matters were cleared as the accounts in question, by my recollection, were dormant, previously reported, and the balance in them were around Jamaican $3,000 and 200 euros. Subsequently, my declaration were once again referred for further scrutiny for accuracy and completeness. Other accounts were identified and alleged to be belonging to me, but undeclared. Some of these accounts were opened by my parents as far back as 1975, and my name later added, probably while I was still a child.
Probably while you were still a child. What account were you using during your teenage or adolescent years, Prime Minister? Have you ever used any of those accounts you claim opened by your parents, dating back probably to 1975, about 3 years after you were born? Have you at any time during your teenage or adolescence years, Prime Minister, have you ever used those accounts? Tell the nation, have you ever used, can you say them account open all the way back to 1975? How much money have your parents saved within those accounts for you, Prime Minister? And during your education days when you were going barefoot, during your days at college, high school, and university, Prime Minister, did you have access to an account? And would it be any of these accounts that you did not declare? Hmm? Let's continue to listen.
Many Jamaicans add their children.
Let me address the dormancy. The dormancy of an account, Prime Minister, without much money in it or constant activity, Prime Minister, we know that alone kills an account in Jamaica. Because whatever little you have in it, because that has happened to me in two banks, Scotia and NCB. My money when me left in it at Jamaica, because I stop using it from become a foreign. Them take out if it tax and close the account. Can you verify if that was your experience with those accounts from 1975, Prime Minister? And can you prove that on documents? That's what transparency means, you know. Transparency doesn't mean you come to the bully pulpit and come and talk down to us, threaten people and attack people, and then nobody have the chance to respond to you.
To their accounts for survivorship reasons and in the event of emergencies. I have never claimed these as my assets, and I am satisfied that the Director of Corruption Prosecution ruled that there was insufficient evidence to support claims that I intentionally omitted bank accounts from my declarations, and that there is greater evidence to support my explanation as opposed to evidence to the contrary. I also note that no other matter in the report was referred to the authorized authority, that is, the Director of Corruption Prosecution. The summary of the report outlined that my personal financial affairs from 2018 to 2023 was examined, including associate private third-party businesses and transactions. Over 3,600 transactions were examined, 28 bank accounts, over 80 witness statements collected. This effort to pursue me and my affairs led to the hiring of an international forensic accounting examiner.
Let me stop here. Let me roll you back because I want to respond directly.
Of Corruption Prosecution. The summary of the report outlined that my personal financial affairs from 2018 to 2023 was examined, including associate private third-party businesses and transactions. Over 3,600 transactions were examined.
In relation to those 28 accounts, Prime Minister, all those 28 accounts, do they all belong to you? Or are they any belonging to a third-party business, or are they accounts of yours, your family, and the businesses? Just for clarity, because we ate a 28 account, we want a little more clarity upon them.
28 bank accounts, over 80 witness statements collected. This effort to pursue me and my affairs led to the hiring of an international forensic accounting examiner.
Prime Minister, it is not pursuing yourself and your affairs. It is legal obligation, Prime Minister. You're legally obligated to make those declarations. And if what you have declared, Prime Minister, cannot be verified, then of course they will have to investigate the facts, Prime Minister. So it's not pursuing you, it's getting clarity, because what you submitted and what you said didn't add up. You see, we're just trying to help you to understand.
For 6 months. As far as I am aware, only my 2021 declaration was submitted for investigation. After this most thorough interrogation of my personal affairs, which is not in any way connected to public funds or a benefit resulting from my office, they were unable to conclude regarding illicit enrichment. Nonetheless, they concluded that in one of the 5 years they examined, 2022, there was unexplained growth in my net worth of 1.9 million Jamaican dollars, or less than 1% of my total net assets. I reject this finding based on materiality and significance. And while I have not had a chance to fully review the specifics of their calculations, just a cursory review.
It's just a scathing over review, you know. He's refuting it. But he hasn't gone in depth to look at their calculation. It's just a brushed over review of it. And the Prime Minister is telling you that he doesn't agree with it.
Of their formula, I have seen an error in figures they have used in their calculations. And therefore, I challenge this finding on incorrect use of data. I reject the finding that I acquired
incorrect use of data from who, Prime Minister? From you or from the banks or any financial institution that provided the data to the IC?
an asset for which the source of funds is not adequately explained. The Commission, in its own report, pointed out that this whole episode started with an incorrect statement from a bank. It started with an incorrect statement from a bank. A bank gave a balance verification that I had funds in
So here,
US
so it's
dollars.
no longer
Was
Holness'
incorrect.
fault to say the bank costs everything.
So too was the asset in question, the subject of errors by the financial institution that managed the asset. While I authorized the transaction, from the outset of the acquisition of the asset in 2019, I was unaware that the financial institution had assigned an amount in error to my account from an associated company. A year later, the investment instrument, a bond, was called by the issuer, and the financial institution made another error and pooled my funds with the associated company. As soon as I discovered this pooling, which is acknowledged in
The financial institution made an error twice, Prime Minister. Or is it that when you realize you were getting probed, that's when you claim to have made the rectification and it was done twice, Prime Minister, by mistake, twice by mistake? Boy, the whole I don't know where operate. Uno ring my roll. Uno no read nothing. Uno no double check. Uno no have no hierarchy or anybody will check off things before uno put it out a road.
In the report, I alerted the institution and instructed that the accounts be correctly separated. However, the initial incorrect assignment was not corrected at that time. I only became aware of the discrepancy when the institution alerted me in June of this year, and once it was brought to my attention, the funds incorrectly assigned to my account in 2019 was rectified.
2019, you know.
I also
2019 funds. Here, no, hear this. Pardon my expression. Fucker. Remember, the Prime Minister has been under this probe for quite some time. The Prime Minister is 3 years behind on his statutory declaration. And you mean to say that money discrepancy from 2019, and you weren't alerted about it until June this year, Prime Minister? All the whole on. I Tapanaris in a good job people can feel so. Uno can mess up so uno people up there. What is wrong? Huh? What is happening? How uno up the road there so? Can mess up so? Uno claim to say uno a doctor of plotters and all sort of flopping lobsters. How uno can make mistakes so? 2019, money going to your account by mistake. And neither you nor the bank, with all these submissions that you have to do, Holness, you never look on your bank statement. You are your accountant or your administrator for your private affairs, them Prime Minister. Never look on the bank statement, them bank statement there from 2019 till 2024, with all the investigation you've been under, Prime Minister, in relation to certifying your stat deck and your asset. Like, seriously? Seriously, Prime Minister, 2019, and with all what you have to be submitting, you never spot that mistake at all from 2019 to 2024? Wow. We don't need to employ me. One thing with me, Prime Minister, I've always come out on top for this at work. I have great attention to detail, especially when we're not tired, Prime Minister. So then there's something they couldn't miss me from 2019 till 2024, Prime Minister. And I know that on a yearly basis, you have to submit your statutory declaration, or them something the Prime Minister. Why you keep going in back and forth with the Integrity Commission? Because you couldn't get your brouhaha rectified, was taking you too long. So you have to go through all of the galang in them. Me don't know, me just a think and I wonder. But nothing that you're saying, Prime Minister, makes sense. I mean, even Chopper John knows that it doesn't make sense. This is why he's so silent over there this evening, just restreaming every word out of Cliff mouth. I don't know why Chopper John don't sign off and go to his bed, because he doesn't have an opinion. He doesn't even have a pushback. He's so shamed. Him can't even look into the camera over there. Continue, Prime Minister. Continue, because your mouth big.
reject claims in the report that I have hindered the examination of my declarations by not supplying information requested. Let it be known that I have complied with any obligation placed on me within the law.
No, you have not. I won't even elaborate on that. All of us know that you have not. But just let me remind you, you have not. So we don't believe you. You can't talk it so. But let it be said, Prime Minister, we know it's not true.
As far as I am aware, the company with which I am directly associated is compliant and up to date with its filings.
As far as you're aware, not that the records can show. You see, Prime Minister, those are two different lines of argument. As far as I am aware, and as far as the record can show, Prime Minister, it's completely two different line of argument, leading to down two different road, which will end up in two different meanings, depends on where you take it. But let's listen to flip-flopping.
Mr. Speaker, I have been involved in political life for more than 30 years.
30 corrupt
Yes, more
years,
than
Prime
30
Minister.
And I have been elected in this House for 27 years. It always gives me a sense of great pride, but also a sense of humility to consider that, I grew up in a two-bedroom board house at 56 Cumberland Road.
Right. Remember, we've been hearing this for about 12 years now. But let us continue to listen, because I'm going to pick him up on something.
Up from the Grassyard Market in Spanish Town. I don't wear my background as a badge or try to exploit it or exploit my humble beginnings for political sympathy.
Prime Minister, that is another lie. It is the reason why Nestor is smirking behind Prime Minister. When him say camera go catch him hold on him head and put him hand and mouth. Because Nestor Morgan, no, it is a lie. Everybody in Parliament, no, it is a lie. The entire JLP caucus, no, it is a lie. The country knows, Prime Minister, it is a lie. The reason why we know it's a lie, Prime Minister, you have regularly, at all opportunity, Prime Minister, wear your depraved life on your sleeve. You use it, Prime Minister, for sympathy and votes. We, Prime Minister, have lost count of the times you remind us that you're from Cumberland Road. You grow up barefoot. You sleep on floor. Your mother, Higgler. Your father, farmer. You come from humble beginnings. Remember, you told us, I am your brother. I am your friend. I am your family. Remember, you told us that. Meaning, Prime Minister, that you have trod, haven't you, through the same murky waters and the same hill and gullies as us. If it is then that, Prime Minister, you're not using it as sympathy or to garner political support, why the backside? Every time you get a chance, even just now, Prime Minister, you keep rummaging down with truth that he was born in a two-boardroom bed. Poor Prime Minister, me born under tree. Look at me now, Prime Minister. I, Prime Minister, was born under a tree. Look at me now. That same tree, Prime Minister, is still standing even after burial. Look at me now, Prime Minister, me who was born under a tree. But I don't go around telling the world every day, Prime Minister, that I was born under a tree. But every ton we hear say you're born in a two-bedroom board house. Two-bedroom board house still exists in Jamaica, Prime Minister. It's not like a fairy tale. Who would have, oh, an old two-bedroom board house would I look then? No, Prime Minister. The squalor of Jamaica still exists. I don't know where this man is. Hmm? I really don't know where he is. The squalor of his mentality.
I don't do it. I don't do it because I believe in working for what you have,
The
regardless of where you
tirade,
come from.
tirades coming.
And Mr. Speaker, I have worked hard.
um, you mean like you mean like gathering stones, Prime Minister? You mean like picking sticks, or you mean like picking guitar, filling fruit jar, and playing gay over by Cliff Hughes December 31st party? Which is it, Prime Minister? How hard have you worked, Prime Minister? On your knees and your back? Where, how, Prime Minister, can you illustrate to us the hard work, the late night Prime Minister? If it's round back street, in a hotel, upper poles, where, Prime Minister? We want to know. It's our Prime Minister. We want to know everything about our Prime Minister. So wherever you work hard, beat that beat. Wherever you work hard, Prime Minister, we want to know where and the hard work. Can we see your CV of that hard work, that late night? I wonder if it's up doing the people's job or writing your thesis for your doctoral, Prime Minister. What a man wicked. Boy, when wickedness there, give you the back of the line, middle of the line, end of the line, and the wickedness for brought away left over, you still grab it up. Oh, you so terrible, man. Oh, you want so terrible, Andrew Holness. You don't leave space for nobody else finger terrible like yours.
You know, people just see the achievements. They don't know.
What? The achievement that you bought? The 2-year PhD where you grudge thief in Christopher and thief in Nigel, Clark and Dunce, Dana, Dixon over? Like literally? What achievement, Prime Minister? No, what have you achieved? I will leave Carlos or somebody else or Debbie Jervis to break down your achievement because I know me a dunce. Good dunce we can't count. Past 10 would confuse the hell out of me. So me I go let your successes, because your successes, Prime Minister, they may pass 10. And me I go mix up myself if your successes pass 10. So me will left it for the counters. Me now mix myself up.
The hours, the nights.
Doing what? Doing what? Where? Doing what, Prime Minister? Tonight, hours are hours, but doing what?
The hard work.
On your knees or on your back? On your knees or on your back, Prime Minister?
They don't know.
They don't know how the story go.
I have worked
They
hard,
don't know.
wisely, and honestly to achieve whatever I have.
I'm not going to discuss the wisely part because I don't want to get into your psyche. The honestly part, though, Prime Minister. The honestly part, Prime Minister, based on today's report, based on today's report, Prime Minister, the honesty part is a hogwash, is it not? No, sir. No. pardon my expression. Remember, you have fool, you have damn fool, and you have fucking fool. Which of them are you, Prime Minister? Hmm? Which of those three are you? Because if you listen to the report and if you had read the report, you wouldn't come out here, come talk. So you're honest, Prime Minister. Still, we're still yet to verify your honesty. Prime Minister Tascom, we're still yet to verify your honesty, Prime Minister. Oh, you get this, so we say you're honest. And the report, but then again, him dispute the report. Hmm? Or you get fisted, so. No, talk truth. Or you get to put your name and honesty in the same subject. You think it makes sense, sir? No, or do you think sensible people, even the sensible labor rights, where it has shown that more of labor rights are seeing you as very corrupt, Prime Minister? How you get yourself honest in the same subject, sir? Chapa John, you're there. You can't talk, we're not trouble you. You can't type and tell what you meant, Chapa John. We're not trouble you tonight. We're sorry for you. Come we see all your mouth shit.
I never had a gold spoon,
Okay. We never have
and I
either.
have never depended on the public purse.
That's a lie. That's a lie, Prime Minister. The borrowing of student loan, Prime Minister. I don't know if you did the part program or you're too old for parts. But given that you and I, Prime Minister, are of similar age group, you're only 2 years older than I am. So a lot of the state resources in education, like free uniform and free bulg and milk powder and reading book and them something there, Prime Minister, those are state fund. Your student loan, Prime Minister, which you ended up being delinquent on, can you let us know if you redeemed yourself with your student loan? That also, Prime Minister, is government or public resources. So, no, that is not true, what you just said. It's just simple, not true. Let's continue.
Indeed, I gave up my salary. I gave up the salary due, the salary increase due to prime ministers, in solidarity with all the people who are challenged to make ends meet with their own incomes. I didn't
Listen to the
take
Apanya
it
Takan Mark Golden.
and pretend to give it to entities that are in my interest anyway. No. On principle, I didn't take it. I have the privilege, I consider it a privilege, Mr. Speaker, and awesome responsibility of leading this country, and I take it seriously. Regardless of the attempts to distract me and unnecessarily consume my time, I have never lost focus on it.
To distract you and consume your time. There's only one word for that, Prime Minister: petulancy. I cannot explain that any further. one would have to look up in their dictionary on Google what petulancy means. Petulancy, Prime Minister. That's all it explains.
Ensuring a stable, resilient, and growing economy, reducing unemployment, improving our security as a nation, building out our infrastructure, and providing support for the most vulnerable in our society. Furthermore, I've always sought to discharge my duties with respect and dignity. Even for those who
Prime Minister, telling a lot of blatant lies, which you have been caught out doing on a regular basis, cannot be said that you discharge your duty with dignity. You often lie, Prime Minister, or misinform the public. That claim, Prime Minister, is a lie.
try to bring me down and do personal harm to my reputation.
Try to bring you down and do personal harm to your reputation. Petulancy, pusillanimous, timid and lack of courage, taking on a job which you cannot stand the scrutiny of the job. But let's continue to the tirade.
The weaponization of accusations of corruption is nothing new in politics. However, even the most skeptical onlooker must conclude that the handling of this matter, the time it has taken, the public resources used to pursue it, raise cause for concern.
This is where the attack comes.
On many levels. While I will not pursue the view that this was politicized,
this is the twisted talk. While he will not pursue the thought that it's been politicized, listen what comes after.
I believe it is commonly agreed that
Commonly
the law
agreed
governing
by
the Integrity
all of
Commission
us.
is in urgent need of revision.
No, the Integrity Commission is urgently in need of revision. This government has been in power for 8 years. The Integrity Commission, though written before, implemented 2017. Within the second year of Andrew Holness' regime. By legislative standard, this is what is called recent, young, or fresh piece of legislation. Ever since this piece of legislation started to work against this government and its cronies, there is a constant attack on the Integrity Commission and their workers. The attack now goes to the legislation because they long wanted to do it. Because the gag order before Andrew implemented in 2017 seemed not to be enough to protect them. So what the Prime Minister is asking now is for a review of an act that was passed in 2017, albeit that this act doesn't help them to steal continuously and get away with it. That's all. We have so much outdated legislation on our books that doesn't work for the Jamaica people. but because this piece of legislation works against the corruption of government, even in its skewed up manner at the moment with the gap clause. Your prime minister, your corrupt prime minister, wants to review this piece of legislation with the majority he has in parliament at the moment. Look at the time speed at to which the prime minister is going to bring a review of this legislation, because he has the power to rip it up now. Let's continue to listen to the rest of Fluffrey.
The current context of its operations does weaken its credibility. And we must do
The current optics of its operation does reduce its credibility. Since the 6th or 7th of September, isn't this what the government, its paid media sources, its paid vloggers have been doing since these reports have been tabled? Is it not the wife of the prime minister who has leaked details of the report to Nationwide and CVM? But here them come tell you now, so the integrity falls short. It's all a stitch up, you know. They want to rip it up because it attacked them from thieving with impunity.
everything to ensure that the appropriate laws are in place to prevent the politicization of the Commission and to support the Commission.
Where are we going here? Laws are in place to prevent the politicization of the organization. Me don't know how the piece of legislation they are going to write in a prime minister, because me don't understand how you're going to write, because the legislation at the moment prevent the politicization of the organization. It is your regime, though, Prime Minister, that constantly politicize the organization when it doesn't work in your favor. This is where the problem lies, you know. When the organization doesn't work in your favor, Prime Minister, it's politicized. It's been called a PNP organization. It's been called a leaker. It's been called all sorts. But when it's about doing VAS, Prime Minister, and the Jamaica Labour Party, the IC was all correct and on par when it's doing VAS. But as Donkey said, Hill and Valley don't have the same level
in its work.
But that's enough of him for the night. But Jamaica, it is a disgrace. Today was one of the most disgraceful days in our parliament, where a prime minister has lost credibility. The prime minister may still be reinforced by 48 thieves. Certainly, though, the prime minister has lost the credibility of the nation. The prime minister has lost the credibility amongst a great sway of even his JLP supporters. Call it, Andrew, call it, as Mark Golden said on Sunday. The nation cannot continue with a crook at the helm, with a corrupt thief at the helm, with a two-faced liar at the helm. Enough is enough. Andrew Holness must resign. If there is any integrity amongst those 48 Alibabas, which you don't all have, then try to save your own integrity. Because in this spider web of the Prime Minister's integrity, you have all become tangled. Hmm? What can be done, Ladybug, because majority is low on the People's National Party side, is the backbenchers in Andrew's party operate with integrity. This is the job of backbenchers, to remove your crooked leader. It has always been like that in the Westminster style politics. Boris Johnson was removed by his conservatives. There's a group in the conservative called the 1982 Committee. It's like them control the conservative, and they can take down any prime minister, or they can give any prime minister, any conservative prime minister, hell in parliament when it comes to passing legislation. They were the one who also removed Liz Truss. They were the one who also removed Margaret Thatcher. That's the power of your backbench MPs. The difference is, even though we operate the Westminster style politics, we don't have credible backbenchers either in PNP or JLP. The cabinet is meant to go along with whatever bullshit that the Prime Minister comes up with. It is the job, though, of the backbenchers, even in the JLP, to stand against Andrew Holness. And we see Delroy Chuck push back, not Delroy Chuck, sorry, Carl Samoda push back on him during the legislation to intertwine the Office of the Ombudsman and the ECJ together. So, who can move on to before the general election? His MP. The one can have a vote of no confidence against him. The central executive can give him a mandate, step down because you're killing the life of the party. Otherwise, we will start brief against you. Politics is just a cruel world. So, Andrew Holness, in his petulancy, in his dictatorship mentality, is not going to step down. He doesn't have the respect to do that. I mean, a thief and a corrupt person is not going to have the respect to do the right thing. So he's not going to step down. He will fight to the bitter end. If needs be, this prime minister will take the ship under with him. It's up to the central executive to remove him, or it's up to his backbench MP to force a vote of no confidence against the prime minister. And that will push him out of government and or force an election. Because it will, even if them don't want to do the election, force a leadership race within the JLP, which could be turned bitter and bloody, which even destroy them further. So the better part would be to do it amicable. As I've been advising them since February, change Andrew Holness before November. introduce a new leader at November's conference, because if you don't, the party will be decimated at the next general election, given that Andrew has no more credibility for leadership. So, me I go running, I'm tired, and lack of sleep. But I don't know, so we keep the Prime Minister grave digging, set up, 9 night funeral, because Andrew have to go, you know. By the hook or the crook, Andrew have to go. But to the labor rights, them, the more I hang on to Andrew, you know, is to no detriment. Uno hanging on to Andrew is to uno detriment. Because some of uno so-called young, vibrant people with political and leadership ambitions, what you're all doing at the moment is throwing your career under with a dead man politically. Andrew is politically slaughtered in Jamaica. The longer you're hitched to Andrew, you're going to get drawn under the chuck wheel. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. But we'll go out here tomorrow morning on the Prime Minister again, because we're going to dissect him and we're going to call him out, and we're going to continue to call for the Prime Minister resignation. And I hope all the vloggers can start calling for the Prime Minister's resignation. And we're not take time with Chapa John, porting him shame. Take time with him. You hear, Carlos? If we not beat Chapa John, take time. Why shame till he can't talk? Anyway, may we soon a morning. Thank you all very much. And good night from Global Television Group.